Are you getting really frustrated about your dog counter surfing and never really sure when it's going to happen, so it's hard to train through it? Good girl. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to stop your dog from counter surfing, and I'm going to show you in a way that you can predict when your dog might make these mistakes. I'm also going to show you an excellent training tool that you might already have in your kitchen that you can use to train this skill. I'm Ken Steep, and welcome back to McCann Dogs. At our training facility, we've helped more than 80,000 dog owners to overcome their dog training challenges. So if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that I can help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. The first thing that I need to talk about when it comes to counter surfing is management. Now, if you have a dog who's likely to jump on a counter, then it's really important that you keep a house line on them. And if you're not sure what a house line is, I'll post a link to a video above. It's basically a leash that you can leave on your dog when they're free, when they're moving around in your house. But to be a good manager for your dog who may be misbehaving or making some mistakes, you want to have that house line on, and you need to keep an eye on them. Just leaving a line on them as they move around the house isn't going to solve any problems, but it puts you in a great position to be able to manage them and to train them if they do make these mistakes. So first things first, if you have a dog who's counter surfing, use your house line. I've said it before and I will say it again, dogs do what's rewarding. So if they see an opportunity to jump up on the counter and maybe take a piece of food, and they haven't been taught that counter surfing isn't allowed, then they're likely to do that. But they're going to give you a couple of signs that they're thinking about jumping up, and you need to know what those are. Your dog may stand stock still, or they may start air scenting when they're thinking about jumping up or investigating the counter. And that's a great opportunity for you to interrupt that thought pattern using your leave it or your off or something to let them know that you know what's going through their mind. If you're using the word no with your dog, I want you to get away from that. Start using more specific information. Your leave it or your off command are good options for that, but it's very clear to your dog what you don't want them to do. If they were to grab a sock and jump up on the couch and you tell them no, which thing are you saying no to? So in this situation, use your leave it or your off, but really dogs do what's rewarding. So let's give them a more rewarding behavior than jumping up on the counter. Now, a lot of people complain that counter surfing is really unpredictable and they never know when their dog's going to do it. So we need to set them up so that they have to make a choice, and then we can train through it. And I'll tell you exactly how we're going to do that. With your dog wearing a house line or their leash, I want you to walk up to an empty counter. Ask your dog for a sit and then put your foot on their leash. Now, make sure there's no tension in the leash. We don't want them to know that you're standing on it, but there needs to be very little slack in it so that if they do decide to make a mistake and jump up on the counter, they aren't able to self-reward by doing that. Now, while they're in a sit at your side, reward them 2 or 3 times. And maybe if you have a dog who loves to counter surf, maybe you can reward them with those really high value rewards like steak or chicken or something that they really love. And then break off that exercise and we'll move to the next step. We're going to repeat the same steps in the first progression, but this time when you approach the counter, have some lower value food on it. So maybe some kibble or something really simple that your dog kind of likes but isn't totally crazy for, and you're going to repeat the same steps as in the first progression. So you're going to reward them for sitting at your side, you're going to make sure that you have your foot on their leash so that if they jump up, they can't self-reward, but you're going to reward them several times for making a great choice by not jumping up. And then you're going to break it off. After a few successful repetitions of a low value food being on the counter, it's ready to bring out the secret weapon, a slice of processed cheese. Now, the great thing about the cheese is that it's sort of malleable and it's really simple. You can sort of stick it to the edge of the counter so that your dog sees it and they can smell it and it's really close, but it's really hard for them to get it. But I want you to go through the exact same steps. You're going to bring them up nice and close to the counter, step on that leash, ask them for a sit, reward them many, many times, and then break it off again. The great part about the cheese is that dogs often see that as a pretty high value reward, but it's really hard for them to get it because it's so gooey and so easy to stick to the countertop. But I really love using it as one of my training tools for counter surfing for exactly that reason. The other important part is that dogs do what's rewarding. So if we've put them in a position where they can see the thing that they want, but they've chosen to remain in that sitting position and they've been rewarded multiple times, then they're going to start to shift the value of being on the counter to being in that sitting position and being rewarded with those great treats like maybe be it steak or chicken or whatever your dog loves. So now we've built up a little bit of value for your dog remaining in a sit and not jumping up on the countertop. But let's be real, your dog's likely going to be walking around the kitchen and moving around as you are moving around in that kitchen. So we need to set them up so that they can be rewarded in a similar situation. Now this time I want you to go back to step one with nothing on the countertop, but you're going to walk up to that counter with the leash in your hand. Now this will give you an opportunity to reward your dog for remaining off, and maybe they're going to even offer a sit, and that would be great. You can reward them for that. But we're going to work our way through those progressions, first with no food, then with a low value food, again walking up, leash in your hand, and then you can try it with the secret weapon for counter surfing, that piece of processed cheese that's stuck to the side of the counter. Now if they make the mistake of jumping up or they start to jump up, that's the time you can issue your leave it or your off command and then gently guide them down and away from the countertop. The leash is in your hand, so you need to make sure that you're well prepared when you get up there to avert disaster. Remember, dogs do what's rewarding. So if your dog has an opportunity to get up even during this training scenario and be rewarded by eating the food off the counter or eating the cheese, then you've got a little bit more homework to do. Now, one round of training this exercise isn't going to solve all your problems, especially if you have a dog who's been rewarded in the past. Maybe they've jumped up and they've gotten some food or whatever. So you have a little bit of work to do, but the great part is you just need to spend a few minutes at a time training this skill. So maybe while you're preparing your breakfast or while you've got a couple of minutes hanging out in the kitchen, you can train this exercise. And that's the best way to structure your training so that it's at unpredictable times and it's throughout the day. But to be successful here, you need to remember one thing: dogs. And if you can fill in the blanks, then you're ready to tackle this problem. I put together a playlist that's just for you. It's all about managing your dog and how you can give them the best information. If you'd like to check out that playlist, click the button beside me. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every single week to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. On that note, I'm Ken. Happy training.